Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Wargames Geek. This week's episode is part 2 on how to build a Roman fort or defensive wall. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. And let's get straight into it. So I'm going to start by making the gates for the gatehouse. And I want them to be high enough to fit a cavalry figure through the gates there. And the width of the entrance will be wide enough for 2 gates. So I'll simply half the width and then build the gates. So this is the first gate I'm building here, and what I've done is I've got 2 coffee stirrers that I've cut down to size, and those are going to be the sort of uprights if you like, and then I'm going to have 3 posts going across the middle of the gate. So let's just get the first one stuck down there, sort of near the top if you like, and we're kind of making a sort of a strange H shape if you like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick one in the bottom, make sure they're nice and level, and then one across the middle just to add that third support. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to, once we've done this one, obviously we need to make an identical one. So there are 2 gates, and what I need to do is work out a method for the gates to open and close. So suggestions on a postcard please for how to do that. So I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. As I said before, it's nice and sort of rustic, so it's a sort of hastily put up defence. And so that's the bottom cross support going on now. And then once we've got that in place and we're not happy that it's nice and square, then I'm going to go along and put in a third beam in between the 2. So let's just hold that down for a second just to get a bit of adhesion on that. And then with the last one, so it doesn't keep coming apart, I'm just going to dab a couple of dabs on each end of this particular post, and then just pop that somewhere around the middle. Doesn't have to be exact, as I say, it's supposed to be you know, sort of rush build. And that's the sort of frame, if you like, for the gate. And as I say, we need to make 2 of those. So once that's been let to dry, which it has now, I've got these little wooden skewers, and what I need to do is then just pop that down, and we need to cut those to the height of the gate. And then once we've cut that across, we'll do a few of those and we'll fill in the gap across the back there. So the idea being that we just dab some glue on the inside of those cross supports. So let's get that on there now. Oh, a bit too much. But what we can do is, once we've got that on, I'll just glue to halfway, and then what I'll do is I'll get one of the skewers and just sort of force the glue along so to the end. There we go. That's a way of dealing with that. And then we just stick the first one down, so down it goes, and we just repeat that process. So once we've got one down, we can just pop them all on, and the idea being that this will form the sort of gate, or the inside of the gate if you like. So from the outside you can see the cross beams going across. So that's the first one done. It's now dried, and when we do 2 together, we'll just do another one of those just to show you. So we've got them both done, and then if I just lift that one up for you from the outside, you can see it looks like a sort of bit of a sort of gate there with some cross beams going across there. So once they're dried off, we'll work out how to fix those to the actual gatehouse itself. So there we are. They're just loosely fit there. They're not in any way sort of open and closable at the moment. They're literally just hanging there, as you can see. Oh, there we go. And so that's the idea. So we've got the 2 gates sorted out. So as I say, I'll think of a way of attaching those so that they can be open and closed. At the moment I haven't got a clue how I'm going to do that, but I'm sure at some point I'll have a moment where it all comes back to me how to do that. So those are the gates. So that's those done. So if we just zoom out, and you can see there then that those are done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back to that in a bit, but I'm going to move on and do the side walls. So the side walls you'll have seen in episode or part 1 of this video. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to glue this black foam on the top. That just basically gives it the same sort of height as the actual first level on the guard tower. And it's a sort of twofold thing really. The idea being that the front there, which I'm indicating now, will be somewhere that I can stick the posts on for the fence, the defensive fence. So that's glued on, that's dried now, and I now need to cut loads of these skewers down to the right size so that they can just go along this front of the wall here. So let's have a look at that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a similar thing as what I've done on the guard tower itself, or the entrance gates, is that I'm going to do it a sort of bit like a castle battlements at the top. So there we are. So it's just starting to make work along there. Just take your time with this. Again, they don't need to be exactly the same height. That it is a sort of rushed build to a defensive wall, and there we have then the whole lot all in place. And by all means, if you want to take your time and do it a lot, make it really neat, that's entirely a matter for yourself. For me, I just want to get it up and looking like it's been a rushed thing to get done. As you can see, there's a few gaps there which we'll sort out as we go along with the filler. So the next bit then is once we've done that, let's just turn it around and show you the back side of it. So this is it from the reverse, looking, if you like, out over the sort of hostile ground. And the next thing then is I need to do a sort of walkway, and for that I'm going to use these coffee stirrers. And what I'm going to do is, like I did with the wall itself, or the sort of barricade fence, I'm going to just cut them one at a time all the way along to the end there, and we'll just give ourselves a bit of a sort of walkway for our Roman soldiers to stand on. Again, I don't want it to be really neat. I want it to look smart, but don't want it to be really neat. So once we've done that bit, the next stage is we need to sort of build a fence along the back here. Now it's not going to be raised up or anything, it's just literally going to be like, make it look like a sort of rustic old sort of bit of almost like decking, I suppose, to hold that platform up on top of the mound of the earth there. So that's that bit done. That's all gluing and drying. So once that's dried off, we'll take you around and have a look at that. So this is what it looks like at the moment. We've got the fencing at the front and the platform at the back, and then the next thing is then the earth mound. I'm just going to put some grout on it. Now the reason I'm doing that is I don't need to do it for this really, but just as an idea, is that if you spray this foam, it will melt with an aerosol spray. So if you can put some of this grout on first, it will definitely give you a bit of a base for the spray paint to go on. So what I've done is I've just gone around the whole building, the whole fortification with this grout, just to give it a thin layer. And the next stage after that then is to, once that's dried off, is to go over it with PVA glue and some sand, so just to give it a bit of texture. So the first thing to do here then is get yourself a big old pot of PVA glue and just brush it on liberally across the earth. Try not to get it onto the wooden areas at the top if you can help it, and it's literally just a case of I sort of zigzag it across and then brush it in and then coat it with this sand, as I've already mentioned. So by the magic of video, here is the sand all over the front and on the back of the defensive wall, the earthworks there. I've missed a few patches, but it really doesn't matter. It won't show up when the paint starts to go on. And so what we need to do is, once we've done that, we need to really let that dry off properly. So I'd give that sort of 24 hours to dry. This is not a tricky build at all. It's just it just takes a bit of time because you've got to wait for things to dry in between. And as I mentioned, this is the sort of back side of that as well. So what's next then is, once that's completely dry, you can see there's a few little dents and divots, but they're really irrelevant to it. But get yourself some cheap paint, get down to your local DIY store, and what I've bought here is a mocha type paint. You're going to spend a fortune on paint if you use the little pots from Army Paint or Citadel for this sort of scale of work. You'll probably use about 5 or 6 pots of the paint. So I just went down to the local B&M store and picked up a big tin of brown paint, and that should see me out for a good few of these tutorial type videos. So yeah, just coat it, give it a coat of the brown. Try and be a bit careful. I've made a right old hash of it at the back there, but I will be painting over the wooden area as well. And so the next stages then are to dry brush it all with a sort of I've used a mummy robes colour for dry brushing, and then we get the static grass on and also some paint for the wood, and then dry brush it all. So literally just dry brush it all over. And here we have then the earthworks there, and I've just shown sort of the grass starting to grow on that. So with this, where I am is I've got to let it all dry, and then I will be doing all of the painting all of the gatehouse, and I've obviously got the other side earthenworks to do as well. So quite a lot of work has gone into this so far. I say hours wise, probably only about 2 or 3 hours work really. It just takes a long time, as I say, between the drying. So once that's all done, you've dry brushed everything all, here we are. This is the finished earthworks for this entrance through into the fort, or whatever you want it to be. So there we go. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. It really does look good. I'm happy with it. What would I do different next time? I think I'd probably make the earthworks a little less high. I think they're probably a bit too big really for what would really originally have been there, or how they would have originally built these sort of things. So this is it from the back, looking at the gatehouse and all of the sort of rustic sort of wood. There's a little ladder that I've built as well out of the skewers. So that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do like, subscribe, share it, tell your friends, and as always, thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate all of your time to take your time to look at my videos when there's millions out there. And I'm just going to scroll down just to show you the gates again. So that's the gates there, and I've still got to do that. I've still got to sort something out with the gates. I'm not sure what I'm going to do there yet, but they're just sitting there by the grace of God. And I've got some Roman figures on the wall as well, just to give us sort of an idea of what it looks like. So that brings me to the end of it all. I'm just going to go around to the front so you can see all the Romans lined up there. And if you're wondering how big the wall is, I've made that. It's just over 1 metre in length. So quite a nice size for a bit of tabletop wargaming. These are 28mm figures that I'm using, so just gives you an idea of what sort of scale it is. So as I said before, it's probably the earthworks are probably a little bit too high, but you know, overall I'm really happy with the end result. So that is the end of the video, and as always, thanks very much for watching.